Have you ever had one of those brilliant ideas, for a business, a research project, maybe a community thing, and you just think, how do I make this real? Well, that bridge between an amazing idea and a funded, working reality, it's almost always a single skill, writing a proposal that people just can't say no to. So let's dive in and figure out how to do it. So that's the big question, right? It's not really about just asking for money or, getting permission. It's about convincing other people that your vision is absolutely worth investing in. We're going to break down exactly how you build that argument step by step. So what even is a proposal? First thing, let's just get rid of the idea that it's some boring, formal document. It's not. Think of it as a tool, a really dynamic one. It's your idea's champion, its sales pitch, and its business plan, all rolled into one carefully crafted package that is designed to get one thing, a yes. Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the basics, then look at the two main paths your proposal can take. We're going to dissect the essential parts, look at the rules of the game for big organizations, and then finish up with some pro tips to give you that winning edge. Here's the real mental shift you gotta make. A great proposal isn't a report, it is a story. And every great story needs a clear problem, it needs a hero, that's you and your idea, by the way, and it needs a satisfying ending that makes the funder feel like they're part of the success. And this is a perfect way to think about it because a proposal wears a few different hats, right? If you're talking to a client, it's a sales pitch showing you're their best bet. For a grant committee, it's kind of like a high-stakes persuasive essay. And for investors, it's the blueprint for how they're going to get their money back and then some. Each audience needs a slightly different angle. So before you even type a single word, you've hit your first major fork in the road. Are you answering an invitation or are you knocking on a door completely unannounced? This is the huge difference between a solicited and an unsolicited proposal. And believe me, it changes your entire strategy. Okay, just think about the strategy here for a second. With a solicited proposal, someone has basically said, hey, we have a problem, send us your ideas. That's often a formal request for proposal, or RFP. The good news, they're already looking to buy. But with an unsolicited proposal, you're the one showing up and saying, hey, you have a problem you didn't even know about. You've got to work way harder to grab their attention and convince them this is urgent, because let's be honest, they haven't planned or budgeted for you at all. And this quote, this just hits the nail on the head. A real proposal is never, ever a copy-paste job. It has to feel like it was written specifically for the person reading it, for their needs, their problems. If you're just blasting out a generic document, you've basically just made a fancy brochure. The proposals that win are the ones that scream, I did my homework on you. So how do we actually build one of these things? Well, pretty much every strong proposal, whether it's for a tiny community grant or a massive multi-million-dollar contract, shares a common blueprint. Let's break down the parts. All right, these are the building blocks. The abstract, that's your first impression, and sometimes it's your only one. The project description, that's the heart of it, where you tell the story. The budget is where you prove the idea makes financial sense. Personnel and facilities show you can actually pull this off. The evaluation plan proves you're serious about results. The long-term plan shows you have vision. And the appendices, that's all your backup evidence. Now, the abstract is probably the most important 200 words in the whole document. It's often the only thing a busy reviewer reads before they make a snap judgment. It has to be this tiny, powerful summary of everything. And here's the pro tip. Even though it comes first, you should always write it last. That way you can capture the absolute soul of the entire proposal and write it with some real, genuine excitement. Okay, now for the main event, the project description. This is your narrative. You kick things off by introducing yourself, your team, your organization. You got to build that credibility. Then, you clearly define the problem and explain why it matters right now. Next, you lay out your specific, measurable goals. What are you actually going to achieve? And finally, you detail the methodology, the step-by-step game plan for how you're going to get it all done.
All right, let's step into the big leagues. When you're dealing with huge institutions like universities or the government, you're not just writing a proposal anymore. You are navigating a really complex system, and understanding the unwritten rules is just as critical as following the written ones.
Here's a question that most people don't even think to ask. You send in this proposal, but what are you actually hoping to get back? Is it a grant, a contract, something else? The answer totally changes the relationship you're going to have with the funder and what they expect from you.
Think of this table as your secret decoder ring. A contract is simple. They're buying something from you.
A grant is more like a scholarship for your idea. They believe in it and they're going to let you run with it. But a cooperative agreement, that's a true partnership. They're not just giving you money, they expect to be right there in the trenches with you. Knowing which one you're asking for is a total game changer.
And here's a little piece of insider lingo that's super useful. If you see something called a request for applications, an RFA, they're probably thinking about a grant or a cooperative agreement. But if you see a request for proposals, an RFP, they're almost definitely looking to set up a contract. It's a tiny little difference in letters that signals a huge difference in the relationship. Navigating this system also means surviving what I like to call the compliance minefield. Look, the specific rule on this slide isn't really the point. The point is what it represents. There's a whole universe of dense, complicated, non-negotiable rules you have to swear you're following. You miss one checkbox, you misunderstand one rule, and your brilliant proposal gets thrown in the trash before anyone even reads it. The takeaway? Read every single word. Okay, so you've got the structure down, you understand the rules. Now, how do you make your proposal the one that stands out from a stack of 100 others? Let's talk about the strategies that take a proposal from just being correct to being absolutely compelling.
This is easily the most common mistake, and it's also the easiest one to fix. Stop talking so much about yourself. A winning proposal is all about the buyer. It's not about your cool services, it's about the benefits they get from those services. It's not about your long company history, it's about how that history makes you the perfect person to solve their problem right now.
Look, facts and figures are important, but people don't make decisions with just their brains, they use their gut. A winning proposal tells a story of transformation. It paints a picture of the before, the pain, the problem, and then shows them the after, the success, the relief that your solution brings. The facts are there to support the story, but the story is what they will remember.
Here's a hard truth for you. Nobody is impressed by jargon they don't understand. Your proposal has to make as much sense to the finance person as it does to the technical expert. Just remember this simple rule. If you confuse them, you lose them. Being clear isn't dumbing things down. It's your single most powerful weapon of persuasion. So let's do a quick recap. A proposal, it's your idea's persuasive story. You've got to know if you're responding to a request or if you're making the first move. You build your case using that classic blueprint. You have to understand the rules of the game you're playing. And most importantly, always, always make it about them, not about you. You know, at the end of the day, a proposal is really an act of translation. You're taking this passion and excitement that you see so clearly in your own head and making it visible and compelling to somebody else. It's about building a bridge. So, your idea is ready. What story are you going to let it tell?